Restored strength. Abraham, Moses, and the man of God. A teaching on alignment, identity, and James 5. Shalom, family. Today I want to share something that happened to me that opened up a deep revelation in the scriptures. I was talking to a man one day, a man of God, and he asked me a very honest question. He said, "How do I get my strength back? How do I get my manhood back? I feel like something in me is weakening." Now, before I go any further, let me say this clearly and respectfully. Any man experiencing physical changes, especially something like impotence, should consult a qualified healthcare professional. There are many possible medical causes, and a doctor can help identify what's going on. But this conversation wasn't about just biology. It was about identity, purpose, and alignment. So I told him, "Brother, sometimes the body is speaking about something deeper. Sometimes the body is telling the story of the spirit." And I mentioned things like cleansing, discipline, and being mindful of what we put into our bodies. Not as medical treatment, but as biblical themes of purification and alignment. I even mentioned the story of Dr. Sebi, not as a prescription, but as an example of someone who emphasized discipline, cleansing, and returning to natural order. But as I was talking to him, my mind went straight to scripture. And four passages lit up in my spirit. Genesis 21, Genesis 16, Genesis 25, John 8, Deuteronomy 34, James 5. And let me show you why. Abraham, the pattern of restored strength. Genesis 21:5 says Abraham was 100 years old when Isaac was born. Genesis 16 shows he fathered Ishmael before that. And Genesis 25 shows that after Sarah died, Abraham fathered 6 more sons with Keturah. Now, I'm not giving medical advice. I'm showing you a biblical pattern. Abraham's strength was restored because his life was aligned with purpose. His vitality returned because his identity was rooted in covenant. The scriptures are showing us something symbolic. A man's strength is connected to his alignment with the Most High. Sarah, the impossible made possible. Genesis 21, 1 through 3. Shows Sarah conceiving when it was impossible. This is not biology. This is divine timing. It teaches us when the Most High restores, he restores beyond natural limits. Moses, the pattern of preserved strength. Deuteronomy 34, 7 says, Moses was 120 years old. His eyes were not dim. His strength was not diminished. This is not a medical formula. This is a spiritual principle. Obedience preserves strength. Discipline preserves clarity. Alignment preserves vitality. Moses lived in alignment, and his strength followed. John 8, identity and alignment. In John 8, 39 through 44, Christ says, if you were Abraham's children, you would do the works of Abraham. Meaning, identity shapes behavior. Behavior shapes discipline. Discipline shapes strength. Strength shapes purpose. When a man forgets who he is, he loses alignment. And when he loses alignment, he loses strength. Not medically, but spiritually. James 5, the blueprint for restoration. James 5, 13 through 18 gives the structure. If you're suffering, pray. If you're joyful, praise. If you're weak, call for the elders. Confess faults. Find healing. The prayer of a righteous man has power. This is not a replacement for medical care. This is the spiritual posture of a man seeking restoration. James is teaching us strength returns through alignment. Healing begins with honesty. Restoration begins with community. Power returns through righteousness. This is why that man that came to me, he wasn't just asking about his body. He was asking about his identity, his purpose, his alignment. And the scriptures answered him. The revelation. Family, listen. When a man of God says, I feel weak, I feel like my strength is slipping, he's not just talking about his body. He's talking about his alignment. Abraham shows us restored strength. Moses shows us preserved strength. John 8 shows us identity alignment. James 5 shows us restoration structure. And all of them teach the same truth. A man's strength is tied to his alignment with the Most High. A man's vitality is tied to his identity. A man's restoration is tied to his discipline. This is not medical instruction. This is biblical revelation. And the Most High is still restoring men today. Shalom.